Elon Musk has just endorsed President Trump, and this video is going to be very different from a normal video that I do, but this is very relevant to us Tesla stock investors. I will go through many different takes and try to get to the reason why the attempt on former president's life was not prevented. And then after going through all of that, I will give you my take on what that means for us Tesla stock investors. There is going to be a timestamp for that. If you're not interested in learning what Elon Musk thinks about this whole situation with the former president, this video is not for you. We know that Elon Musk already faced assassination attempts, and further attempts on Elon Musk's life are almost inevitable at this point. Should we send a letter to the Tesla board asking to increase the annual security budget for Elon? All Tesla investors pretty much unanimously agree, yes, absolutely. Elon said last time America had a candidate this tough was Theodore Roosevelt. After Ronald Reagan was shot, his approval rating shot up by 22%. The chance of the former president being elected have definitely just increased. If you look at the betting odds, Trump stands at 64.7% and our current president stands at 15%. And I think it's important to see what was going on CNN when this whole thing was happening with the former president.
Donald Trump and the people around him perceive themselves to be under threat, and that's all that matters. That is not legitimate. That is wrong.
There's so much misinformation about Tesla, but when it comes to politics, it's just completely next level. Literally, the former president was just shot in front of us, and on CNN we are hearing Trump and the people around him perceive themselves to be under a threat, and that is not legitimate. And that is why people like me have jobs reporting what's actually going on. My only interest is to find out what's actually going on, what are the facts, what's the truth. And if that's what you want to see, make sure to like this video right now. And I have found the best way to know which sources of information are good and which ones are not is to go extremely deeply into one subject or one piece of news and see how accurate the news publication or network was covering this whole thing. Also, do you remember when, for example, NBC called Tucker Carlson a conspiracy theorist basically because he claimed the US is speeding towards assassination of the former president? Here's a screenshot from CNN. Their headline was Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. So, using that same logic, a headline in 1963 would have said JFK falls really hard at rally in Dallas. Anyway, if I go to CNN now, finally, the headline actually makes sense. Trump survives assassination attempt. The Washington Post said Trump escorted away after loud noises at the rally. Let's take a look at the logistics of how this whole thing happened. So the shooter was right here and the former president was speaking here. So that's about 130 meters away from the former president, 425 feet or so. If you were a shooter, where would you go to shoot someone if he was standing right here? Well, either here or here. These are the two most obvious places. And yet the shooter was able to get there without any issue. How? Elon says this was due to extreme incompetence or it was deliberate. Either way, the Secret Service leadership must resign. It took 5 seconds, 27 milliseconds for the Secret Service snipers to return fire and take out the shooter. That's about 6 seconds too long because he had to get up there. So by the time he got there, he should have been neutralized. Actually, the whole thing should have been acted on much quicker because there are eyewitnesses that said we noticed a guy bear crawling on the roof with a rifle. I'm standing there pointing at him for 2 to 3 minutes and the Secret Service is looking at us. Next thing you know, 5 shots rang out. How can you ignore a threat for such a relatively long time? We got extremely lucky that the former president was looking straight and then suddenly he turned and that allowed him to dodge the bullet, but you can actually see here. The bullet though grazed him. Luckily, it's not a serious injury, but it's definitely bloody. You can see exactly where the bullet went. But it's clear that if he didn't turn his head right there, it would have been over. Luckily, he did turn and he's here with us. I also saw some people post saying that the former president was also hit right here, but he wore a bulletproof vest and therefore he was fine. But I'm not sure. Looking at the original image right here, I think this is just like a shadow sort of thing, or the cloth just being wrapped up in this certain way, but I am not seeing anyone seriously debate that there's blood on his face. Here's the director of Secret Service, and prior to her appointment, she served as senior director in global security at PepsiCo. Elon commented on it, saying so before being in charge of protecting the president, she was guarding bags of Cheetos. As a third-party observer, I'm looking at this and I don't understand how Secret Service wouldn't have at least one person on each of the roofs, like an actual person placed on the roof. The tensions are extremely high in the US right now, so why not do that? The Secret Service has thousands of people, actually. Can anyone reasonably explain to me why can't you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people here? Elon says lack of manpower does not explain it. Bystanders try to point out the sniper to security in a very obvious location for minutes before the shooting. And I think this is actually really relevant. There's a politician that seeks to remove Secret Service protection for the former president. His name is Benny Thompson, and he is an elected US politician. The excuse was, well, if he is put in prison, he shouldn't have Secret Service protection inside of the prison. But wouldn't that also take his protection if he is not in prison? It seems likely that it would. Also, I found this. If this is true, this is quite bad. Supposedly, a source familiar with Trump's security detail told this news publication that the former president's detail has been asking for beefed up protection and resources for weeks, but has been rebuffed time and time again by Biden's DHS, which is the Department of Homeland Security. Here's who is in charge of that department right now. DHS, which oversees Secret Service protective detail, wasn't responsive to those requests for more resources, the source said. The congressman that wanted to take away Secret Service from Trump said there's no room in American democracy for political violence. I am grateful for law enforcement's fast response to this incident. I am glad the former president is safe, and my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved. However, his field director posted something extremely concerning. So she literally wishes that the shooter had better aim in vile posts after Trump's assassination attempt. Her post literally reads, I don't condone violence, but please get some shooting lessons so you don't miss next time. Oops, that wasn't me talking. Obviously, this post condoned violence. It was a post on Facebook. She has since deleted the post and her account, but screenshots have been reposted across social media. Here's the original post, and here's a comment here which says, this video specifically shows they waited for the shooter to fire first before they neutralized him, but is this really what we are seeing? So let me go into more detail here. For a moment, let's assume that there's been an extremely bad mistake that has been made. Why would such a mistake be made? Is there a good logical explanation for it? I think this would be one of the better explanations that argue that point, but no matter what happened, there should be an extremely thorough investigation. And this is just one of the possibilities. I don't know for sure what actually happened. Tim McMillan has personally worked several presidential and vice presidential security details, and here are some of his thoughts. The Secret Service employ a multi-tier defense in-depth approach to protective missions. An inner tier offer close protection support, these being the agents you see rushing in and surrounding Trump after the initial shots go off. A second middle tier is tasked with identifying and defending against mid-range threats, for example, the crowd, etc. This tier is largely comprised of local and state law enforcement temporarily attached to the security detail. This is the area that I worked on prior details. And then finally, you have an extend tier which covers long distance threats. This can include counter sniper details and cyber support and CBR and defense. And here's the big question answered. People have wondered, how could the counter snipers in the videos not have seen the would-be assassin? This is because the area of responsibility for those counter snipers on the roof behind Trump was very likely in the extend tier. Essentially, they were scanning for threats at great distances well beyond the roughly 150 meters the threat appeared. This is evidenced by the fact that the elevated counter sniper has to dramatically drop his line of sight to respond to the shooter. Secret Service advanced teams would have absolutely pre-scouted the location and identified the building the shooter used as a vulnerable spot in the defense. Which begs the question, how was this guy still able to climb on the roof and get off a shot? Based on limited details at this point, in my opinion, the security breakdown occurred in the middle tier, which would likely include blue law enforcement who were supposed to be assigned to the area near the outbuildings. How that significant of a breakdown could occur is up for speculation. However, like I said, this tier is largely dependent on local law enforcement and not the Secret Service. So speculatively, the local law enforcement officers who were supposed to be in the area and make sure no one with a gun climbed up on the roof seriously screwed up. People have said that witnesses saw the guy with gun on the roof, told police, but they failed to respond and prevent the assassination attempt. So how does that happen? Well, there's typically limited lines of communication between the Secret Service and the local law enforcement officers working the middle tier. You usually have one or two local law enforcement officer liaisons who have direct communication with the Secret Service, which means communications on the ground. Between the local law enforcement officers being told about the shooter or being routed through dispatch to local liaisons, then to Secret Service. Compounding the difficulty to rapidly respond is the fact that there's always some confusion and inefficiency when multiple different law enforcement agencies come together. Most of these agencies aren't used to working with each other and aren't given much information beyond a few pre-event briefings. I actually saw what can go wrong in these scenarios firsthand when President Bush's Secret Service detail almost engaged a local police SWAT counter-sniper team during the 2004 G8 summit. No one had properly communicated the local SWAT team's position, so all the Secret Service saw was heavily armed individuals with a line of sight on the president. The whole thing was seconds away from being a tragic incident. In this same vein, there was likely some delay and confusion with the initial reports of a person with a gun on the roof, as local cops and Secret Service agents would all be trying to confirm the shooter didn't belong to one of the security support teams. So in summary, when looking for blame in this massive security failure, if I was a betting man, I would say the answer rests with whatever detail likely local law enforcement officers were assigned to the area near the outbuildings. However, his experience is entirely limited to official presidential visits, which are planned at least months and in some cases a year in advance. It's likely that some of the breakdowns or issues I mentioned can be exponentially increased when it comes to campaign trips, as these stops can come up or change on very short notice. The Trump assassin was so obvious that multiple people in the crowd saw him crawling on the roof in broad daylight with a firearm and even filmed the assassin before he ever fired a shot. Let me play this clip. I'm gonna play before the shots were fired. Nothing has been fired yet. 3 seconds right here. People filming. Do you know how much time it takes to pull out your phone from your pocket, unlock the phone, turn on the camera, press filming, and you also have to change from the photo camera to a video camera? It takes at least 5-10 seconds to do that for most people, and for many a lot longer than that. It's 4 seconds in this clip until I hear a gunshot. I don't want to show this video to you because YouTube is probably going to take it down if I show it to you, because the Secret Service does fire back and it's a bit, not family friendly. It's also interesting to look at this list of presidents that have been assassinated and presidents that have been wounded. Here's another interesting clip I found. So the snipers, 7 minutes 21 seconds before the shots, they were looking around, and then 42 seconds before the shot, they were looking towards that direction. Watch.
Take a look at that. So
they're looking.
Is the lowest amount
maybe
of illegal immigration
quite a bit further than where the shooter was, though, but they're looking in the right direction.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over, and look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's
still no shots.
That chart
but they're looking.
Months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
I also have a question. I see all these big guys, and they are obviously protecting the president, and they are tall, and if you try to shoot the president, you're going to have to shoot through one of the Secret Service agents. But if someone is not that tall, how does that work? Now, Meet Kevin also just shared this picture, and supposedly the shooter was right here and not here, which actually does make a big difference, because That's where the former president was. This is the sniper team right here, and you got trees here. So that could have been why it took a bit longer for them to shoot the shooter. Maybe. Certainly, it's a bit more difficult to shoot through a tree like that. Another theory is when the shooter showed his face, no one actually saw the gun. Well, at least the snipers didn't. And
I wonder if they roughly had the shooter in scope. Maybe they were magnified too much. But I wonder, which is possible, if he was magnified too much, maybe they saw him reach for something. You know, like, think about it. His head's over the railing. He's got his gun on the side, his rifle. And they've got scopes on him, and they're like, I don't see a gun, I don't see a gun, I can't take the shot, I can't take the shot, I don't see a gun. Oh my God, he's got a gun. The second they see the gun come up, you go, this guy might be too magnified. He might be going, is that a gun? He looks up from his scope. Oh my gosh, he has a gun, wants to go back. Oh, the shooting's starting. Loses his positioning, then comes back to come take the shot.
now, how does someone come to a conclusion that the best way forward is to eliminate a president? Well, there are some interesting things said in the mainstream media. Here's one publication, The New Republic, which was founded in 1914. And this is just from July 7th. So this just happened. They literally just posted this. We can, I think, see what they were trying to do here. It's very clear. And the headline reads, The New Republic, American Fascism, what it would look like. Overall, I'm sure there will be investigations held, and we will find out eventually what just happened. In the meantime, what does this mean to us Tesla stock investors? Obviously, Elon Musk, because he now fully supports the former president, he will be attacked, and he will be attacked hard. Also, inevitably, I think there will be some backlash against Tesla. Could that impact Tesla's deliveries a little bit? Certainly, it's very possible. But at the same time, could more people that are conservative buy more Teslas? I think that's also very likely. So the Q3 delivery report is actually going to be quite important to watch because we will see how much of an impact will this have on Tesla sales. However, in the long run, what really matters is FSD. Also, the energy business is going to be growing, and I don't think any businesses, institutions are going to turn down Tesla because Elon supports a political candidate. But the auto business, people make auto purchase decisions based on their emotions, so that can certainly be affected, at least temporarily, until the election is over. Also, a few people yesterday got upset at me that I said that I think the rumor was true that Elon donated to the super PAC that supported the former president. And I thought it's true because Elon didn't deny it, even though the rumor has been out for many hours, and it was clear that Elon was on X already, and he must have seen that rumor, but he didn't deny it. My goal here is not to report on things that I think people want to hear. My goal here is to report on things that I believe are most likely to be accurate and true, whether I like these things or don't like these things. My opinion might be entirely different from yours, but my intention, my goal is to get to the facts. What's the actual reality? What is actually happening? I want to get down to it, and then after that, I can share my opinion as well. So for example, yesterday, I shared, okay, here's the rumor. Here's when it happened. Here are all the posts from Elon Musk. He didn't deny it. These are the facts. And then my opinion was, probably, very likely, he actually donated the money. And if you'd like to see more of that, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. That's it for this video, and I will see you in the next one. If I missed any details, because this is still a developing situation, make sure to leave comments down below. And if you appreciate this reporting, make sure to click the like button. This coverage is, of course, going to be somewhat controversial. So likes, I think, on videos like this are especially important. So every person who clicks the like button, I really appreciate that.